Hello, my name is Heinz, and in this video I'll be analysing gameplay from a high-ranked scrim that my team recently played in. This video will be explaining positioning, cooldowns, and team compositions. I will also be partnered up with Tidville Titans, one of the many elite college gaming teams. First of all, let's talk about the team comp and the bans that we made. Now, the bans that we decided to go for were Namor and Iron Fist. We banned Namor so that our Spider-Man player could have easy access to the backline. We also decided to ban Iron Fist as our team has run into a lot of problems playing against an Iron Fist, so it was best just to get rid of him. For our team, we decided to go with the Punisher and Rocket Raccoon team up because the first push, that combo is just absolutely amazing. Like, the damage output is just insane. We then decided to run Venom and Spider-Man as their one-shot combo is very good for diving the backline. For our main tank and support, we ran Groot and Invis Woman. Groot for walling off anyone who steps forward, and Invisible Woman to pull people forward to get them walled off. At the time, Human Torch was very meta in the season, so he wasn't banned, so we knew he was going to be a problem. So for this game, we decided to run a hit scan, which meant playing Punisher. My main focus in these rounds playing Punisher was just to put pressure on the Human Torch so he loses as much value as possible. And straight away you can see that I get a kill, which allows us to gain more space and move forward to the point, eventually taking the point and escorting the vehicle.
We can always count on you, Spidey. Anyone willing to help?
After taking the point, we advance and create space, getting 2 early picks, which allows us to take even more space, allowing me to get onto the high ground and set up a turret.
Need some ranged firepower.
We then step forward and Spider-Man dives their backline, forcing out the Cloak ult, as well as the Emma Frost ult. We then counter by using Invisult, however when that runs out they decide to make a push forward. We then stop their push by using the Groot ult, however they are forced to use the Invisult, so then we counter by using the Punisher ult and Rocket Raccoon ult, allowing us to kill through the Invisult, which ends up getting us to push onto the last part of the map. They then engage with Cloak ult, however by the time Cloak could actually use her ult, Groot was already 1 HP, so he had died. Also Human Torch was getting dealt with by our Spider-Man, so before the ult even began, they were already 2 players down, allowing us to maintain a push, eliminating Human Torch and Emma Frost moments later. At the end of the map, Groot goes and creates space for us, allowing us to push the vehicle. Groot then uses his ult, getting us 3 kills, leaving it down to a 3v6. Moments later, I pick off Loki. They then use Human Torch ult, so then we counter with Invis ult. We then use Rocket Raccoon ult and Punisher ult to get maximum damage, forcing them to split up, so we could take the point, making the score 3-0 to us.
Double KO. The current score is 0.
We then decided to keep the same team composition on the first point. However, we quickly got overrun as Venom and Spider-Man was diving our backline, forcing us to back off and split up, which then caused us to waste ults and lose the point. I then swap onto Winter Soldier, and for the record, I'm just going to call him Bucky throughout this video. I make this swap, allowing Spider-Man and Venom dive to not be as effective. On the second point, they are playing really aggressive, forcing us to back off, losing the second point. However, we make a very valuable swap from Venom to the Thing, allowing their Spider-Man dives to be absolutely useless. They then progress through the third point by creating a lot of space, forcing us to use ults to regain the space. We used the thing ult, knocking them all up, causing them to force out the Rocket Raccoon ult. We then counter by using our own Rocket Raccoon ult, which allows me to get a damage boost on my ult, killing Invis Woman twice because of Rocket Raccoon spawn, and killing Emma Frost to clean up the fight.
Again! 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 Again!
The Bucky pull into the Thing Slam, which grounds them, and not being able to escape very fast has been very useful, and we then comboed it very well as we end up getting a kill onto Spider-Man after the enemy team resets. We then get forced to back off and reset as Spider-Man dives into our backline, splitting us up with his ultimate and also getting a kill. They push with every ultimate they've got, which forces us to back off, and we weren't even able to touch the point, which makes it 3-3 with them winning all 3 points. However, what you want to keep in mind is because we stalled for so long, they get 1 added minute and so do we. So we end up having a time advantage of 3 minutes and 25 seconds, so they're very short 1 minute. It was then their turn to make a push with 1 minute, and they successfully do so by flanking us and creating space for our backline to get involved and allowing them to get the first checkpoint. They then try to create as much space as possible by diving with Spider-Man and Venom, but we then counter the dive by stopping and forcing out their Lunar Snow ult, Spider-Man ult, Venom ult, and Psylocke ult. You have to keep in mind that's 4 ultimates invested into pushing 2 corners, which gets them 4 kills. However, we still did have 2 players alive, so we were able to maintain a bit of space. We later then regrouped and used Cloak and Dagger ult to cover the Emma Frost ult. We then forced out the Thing ult and Emma Frost ult to get as much damage done as possible. We then force out every ult possible to clean up the fight, forcing them to get off the objective and stop the push, ending around 4-3 with the enemy team pushing 111 meters. It's now our turn to push for the final round. We start by pushing the main choke, getting ult charge up. I then force out my ult, getting as much damage down as possible, making their tanks fall back. The enemy Punisher then uses his ult to regain space, but then we quickly counter by using Rocket Raccoon ult, allowing us to sustain the damage whilst killing him in the process. Then they force out both support ults. We then counter with our own Cloak and Dagger ult, to which we completely sustain their damage, and we out-damage their sustain. They then try to stall us even longer, to which they use Invisible Woman ults, to which I killed her through, forcing them to give up the objective and allowing us to maintain a push through the objective.
Come back here! Armed and dangerous! Always glad to help, partner. Stick around! You cannot hurt me. You're up! I guess I throw.
We then take as much space as possible, allowing our Spider-Man to get into the backline, also allowing me to get 2 kills, forcing them back even further. Then later on, they try retaking the space using Cloak and Dagger ult. However, we waited for the ult to go down, so it allowed us to just stay alive. And then we use Rocket Raccoon ult, the Thing ult, and my ult, closing the game out for a 5-4 win.
Again! Fear Magneto! We make a good team. Playtime's
You'll
over.
have to keep fighting until we have a winner.
You can always count on me. For mutant kind.
Final score. 4.
So let's go over what worked well for us and what went wrong. First of all, I would like us to talk about the team composition. As we noticed our character choices weren't working as well, we made some very valuable changes by changing the Punisher to Bucky and from Venom to the Thing. This allowed our backline to get more engaged and have more value in fights as they weren't being dove as much. All in all, there's much to be developed as a team. However, we have to look at the positives as it was a very good game for us. This has been Heinz. Thank you very much for watching my video game analysis, and I hope to see you again soon.